Hi guys, it's Babs and I am live. It's a Friday, which means that we're going to be doing some interactive training and some interactive activities. First off, I'm going to find the link for this particular video so that I can share it out in the Facebook group. So bear with me while I just do a few little bits and bobs in the background. There's nobody online yet, so that's fine. People can just watch me quietly as and when the live stream starts. Come on, let me see it. I see it, but I can't quite find the link. Hey, there are people here. Excellent. Well done, Paula. You found me. I'm not sure that I can find that. Oh, maybe I can. Maybe I can. It's coming along slowly. Let's find that link and then I can share that in the Facebook group. Where is that link? Or Paula, if as you've managed to find me, could you possibly share the link in the Facebook group? Or let me know what the link is and then I can share it. Where on earth has it gone? Oh, you just came straight through to YouTube. Okay, hopefully it should, in that case, be fairly straightforward for me to share the link. Come along. No, that's not helping me at all, but there we go. Let's just drop that message into Facebook on the laptop. And then we can move on. So if you are watching, please introduce yourself, say hello just while I do some of this admin and say where you are. Hi there, Brenda, good to see you. I'm just trying to share the link in the group. And then hopefully we'll be able to move on with the actual drills that I want to be sharing with you for today. So when you find that inspiration is lacking or you just can't break through a blank sheet of paper, or you're not quite sure how it's working or why you're not finding the answer to your question, then you could try one of these 3 drills, in which case that will change the way that your brain is thinking, change the way that you're looking at problems potentially, and that may be enough just to get you over the hill with your issue or problem. So let's just see where we are. Oh, it's not letting me type that, and now it's trying to look at pictures. I don't want to look at pictures. Oh, come along. There we go. As you're now watching me just delete everything that I type. Three inspiration drills. Okay. Let's just cut and paste that link. If we can find it. I'm so prepared. I'm so sorry, guys. I thought it was going to be a bit easier this week. I don't want to send you to the wrong YouTube channel. That's not going to be very helpful. Oh, I so want to have my own designated extension to YouTube, so it'll become YouTube /Arn Academy. I need to have 100 people sign up as subscribers though. So if you could encourage some of your friends to sign up as subscribers, that would make everybody's life so much easier. We have well over that number of people in our Facebook group. So if you all just went and subscribed, it costs nothing, but it means that we have a nice, easy to remember YouTube designation as against a very complicated and complex number, which looks very strange when I paste it in and doesn't really seem to bear any relevance to YouTube and Yarn Academy. However, I'm nearly there and I'm so sorry, and I will do better next week. I promise. Okay, so here is my channel name. Let's copy that, paste it into Facebook, and then I can get on. No! There we go. And now I can get on with actually doing the drills, and I'm so sorry, guys. There we go. That's posted. Now I can focus on everything that I need to focus on. Let's just get those comments up so I can see them coming in. Excellent. Wonderful. Thank you so much, everybody. And thank you, Brenda, for the comment. You're worth the wait. Thank you. Hopefully there will be far less waiting next week and much more getting on with it and doing what's important. So one of the things that people talk about frequently is that they find a lack of inspiration, or they're not quite sure where to go to find an answer for something. Now, there's all sorts of places you can go to look for answers, and we'll cover some of the options for that later on at the end of this session. But sometimes what you need to do is not so much find inspiration from others, but actually just change the way that you're looking at a problem. So I've got 3 drills which I'd like you to try next time you come across one of these hiccups. And let's move that slightly. I don't really want to be looking at my door. Although maybe you're going to have to. Come on. There we go. That's better. So there's 3 different drills which you can use in different ways when you're working on various things. So the first one I would suggest for looking at potential blog content or descriptions of patterns or descriptions of colorways for your yarns. The second one is about launching a new product or launching a new service. So if you are excuse me, a technical editor, if you're a tech editor and there's a new service that you want to launch and you're a little bit nervous about why you should or shouldn't do that, then option number 2 would probably be the best one for you. And if you are failing to find inspiration for a design or a way to put certain elements of things together, then option number 3 could be the one that will suit you best. So I'll work my way through those 3 drills for you, and you can give me some examples of when you think that might be of use to you, or if you think that actually you're talking out your hat, you don't know what you're on about, love, and none of those are going to work for me, but I have this other thing that I do that might work. So we'll come to that at the end if you've got some alternative drills that you think might help people, help your fellow Yarn Academy chaps or chapesses. So first off is trigger words. That's our first drill, is trigger words. And what you need is a pen, a paper, a piece of paper rather, and your brain. So you need to create 2 columns, and there's no specific topic for either of those columns. It's just 2 columns. And then you go through listing words, and you can either list all in one and then list in a second, or you can just alternate between the 2 columns. And what you're doing is you're looking for words relating to your project or your pattern or your design. So if we're looking at creating a blog post, and it's going to, you're not quite sure how you're going to talk about your blog post or what you wanted to say or what you want it to cover even as a topic, then what you can do is just list out all sorts of things that you might want to cover in a blog post, and you just list them out in the 2 columns. It doesn't matter what order they're in. It really doesn't matter what you write. You could throw in some random words like bananas and rainbows and unicorns, and they may not be quite so random, bearing in mind the audience I'm talking to, but you know, you get the point. You just need to list out in 2 separate columns single words or phrases that relate to the topic that you're trying to deal with. And then once you've done that, don't spend too long doing it, but once you've done that and you've got your 2 columns, what you want to do is then spend a couple of minutes going through looking for links between words in column 1 and words in column 2. And the more bizarre and random those links that you can make, the better. Because what you're doing with that process is actually rewiring the way that your brain is thinking. So it's not coming up with the same old answers. It's not coming up with that dog goes to bone and that carpet goes to floor. You're finding a different way to link those things together. So you could have carpet going into a dog kennel because you want the dog kennel to be nice, or it could be that bone links through to house, but you've got to find out why bone links to house, and it's coming up with that weird and unusual tangent that will flip your brain to thinking in a slightly different way. And that is where the power of this particular drill comes from. So once you've spent a few minutes going through with all of your random words, finding random and unusual links between the two, your brain is primed. It's ready to go and look at a problem in a slightly different way, rather than your standard, I always do this, I always do that, this follows that, A follows B, follows C, etc., etc. You have already primed the pump to look at things in a different way, which means if you were struggling to think of topics for a blog post, or if you were you're struggling to think of ways to describe a new pattern, your brain is now rewired slightly, and so you can revisit the original problem that you had, with your brain primed to think about it differently, which gives you a better chance of succeeding. If what you were doing beforehand, with the way that your brain was set up beforehand, thinking in those traditional ways, wasn't working for you, doing this little drill with the trigger words can just give it a tweak and a shake and point you off in a different direction, which can help dramatically. So that is drill number 1. The second one, I find this one is particularly useful in more extravagant things that you're aiming to do. So if you are looking to launch a new service or a new product, or you've written a book and you're trying to launch your ebook, and you're really nervous and you've hit that point where everything's just too scary and it's too overwhelming, and I don't want to do it, it's too much, and I don't want the risk of it all going wrong, and what it might be horrible. This option number 2 will beat that fear. And that is find the worst idea. So this drill is called Find the Worst Idea. It literally is spend 5 to 10 minutes and decide what is the worst thing that can happen, and then explain it in graphic detail. Write it out in graphic detail. And by actually naming what the worst thing is that can happen, and looking at realistically what is the worst thing that can happen after that event, you realise that it's not actually as bad as you think. You realise that this nebulous idea of something negative and terrible happening is far scarier and far worse than actually looking at the reality of what is the worst thing that can happen. So if I've spent 6 weeks writing a book, an ebook, and I'm promoting it out to the world and nobody buys it, that could be the worst thing. Or it could be that people buy it, hate it, and then send me messages that tell me how rubbish I am. Well, those two things, when you actually look at those two things, one of them means I've put a lot of work in and nothing bad has actually happened. It's just nothing's happened, which isn't so terrible. And the other one is that I've been paid money and people then sent me emails, which I can block, or I can delete, or I can choose not to look at in the first place. But I've been paid for my work. And it's about looking at what would you really do if that worst thing actually happened to you. Is this making sense, guys? Are you understanding this one? This one is slightly more tricky because you're trying to think of the worst thing ever. But by the time that you've thought of the worst possible outcome of you launching something, or you promoting something, or you offering a new service, you know, when you've actually dialed down into the detail of that, then it is far less scary than this nebulous, oh, it could all go wrong. You know, and it could all go wrong is far more worrying than what actually this is specifically what could go wrong. And I found that's very helpful for me personally. That's one of the drills that I personally do. It sounds like a way to release the worry roadblock so you can go forward. Absolutely, Brenda. It really is. And by writing it down, one, it means you're prepared if it happens. You know what you're going to do. You've already thought about it before the emotion of the moment has caught up with you. You've already dealt with it, so that you've got a plan in place without realizing it. You've written a plan of how to deal with it. But also, yes, it does. It just literally strips away that unknown fear so that you've just got a very specific thing. And I find that's actually a very, very powerful tool or technique. It's a very powerful drill, that one. What is the worst idea? Kind of like Dr. Pepper. What's the worst that can happen, guys? Really? You know, you're launching a pattern. Nobody's going to die. They're not going to take your house away. You know, your kids are going to be perfectly fine if you release a pattern into the world. It's okay. But yeah, the fear of this unknown, it's all going to go horribly wrong, can be crippling. It can be absolutely crippling. So get it down on paper, write down the absolute worst thing that you can think of, and then think about how you would deal with that, and then move on and get whatever it is that you wanted to launch or to offer or to share out into the world. And you'll find that worst thing doesn't actually happen. You'll find there's loads of other things that are far better that are happening. So I really like that one. And then if you're struggling with a design idea, or you've promised that you're going to design something for a particular yarn or a colourway or something, or a designer that you want to collaborate with, and you've just gone blank. It's a white piece of paper you're looking at, you're trying to design, and you just can't get past that blank piece of paper that suddenly seems to take up your entire world. Then I use drill number 3, which is list on, my loves. And we all know I like a list, but in this case, it's incredibly powerful because you list everything. List the stitches, list techniques, list styles, list combinations of all these things, and just anything and everything that comes to you as an idea that could potentially work, whether it's a shawl, whether it's a pie shawl, whether it's a half pie shawl, whether it's lace, whether it's colour work, whether it's cables. If you're going to knit it, if you're going to crochet it, if you're going to use 3-dimensional textures within your crochet, whatever it is that you're trying to do, just write down everything. And when you think that you've exhausted your list, or you think that the list, oh, that's big enough, we'll stop there, don't. That's the point. When you're still feeling in your comfort zone, that's where you haven't pushed yourself yet. So keep going. Once you've got to the point where you feel, yeah, that's a long list, I'm done, that list's fine, that's plenty of ideas, keep going. Because as soon as you start to feel uncomfortable, or as if you're in uncharted territory, or as if you've never done this before, that is when you're going to find your inspiration. That is when something that is unique to you is going to crawl out of your brain and land on the page, and then you're going to be like, of course, of course. And that is a very, very powerful but simple technique to use. And the list, you know, if you need to list over 3 pages until you start to feel uncomfortable, then list over 3 pages until you start to feel uncomfortable. You can manage it, you can do it. And then once you've found that you are in uncharted territory, it may be that you're then like, well, what I'll do is I'll take this element and this element and this element and this element, and I'll squish them all together, and it's something brand new, something that I've never seen before, something that actually is really starting to strike a chord with me and appeals immensely. So that is where you need to get to, is your uncharted territory. And then absolutely, you do not ever need to worry about the fact that you've copied somebody else, or someone can say, but that's like mine, I did that. And it's like, well, you might have done something similar, but you haven't taken these 4 different elements and put them together, and you certainly haven't taken these 4 different elements and put them together in this way. And I know that because I spent 40 minutes going through all sorts of random ideas and combinations and colours, and it's very freeing, because it means that for absolutely for sure, you have not copied someone else's design. You've not just taken a lazy approach and thought, this is vaguely familiar, I kind of like this, I'll go with this. You've totally gone into that unknown, uncharted territory, something new to you, something that you haven't done before, and then you can really find that inspiration that can can make a blank page just shatter into 1,000 pieces, because what you've got is the idea of a year and you're just so excited to move on with it. And it may be that you have to learn stuff, it may be that you have to try things out in a million ways before you actually get it nailed, but that is where the gold is when you get that inspiration that just powers on through everything else, and breaks past that white page syndrome. So out of the 3 that I've suggested, is there one that strikes you as something that you would like to try to do yourself going forward? Excuse me with my water. Yes, I'm attempting to lose some weight at the moment and do some other bits and pieces, so I'm just permanently with water bottle now. So the 3 techniques were, again, trigger words, where you list out 2 columns of words in random orders and then try and find random connections between the 2 to redirect your brain slightly and to just tweak it to look at things in a slightly different way. Idea 2 is find the worst idea, and this is where you find the worst possible thing that could happen and write in detail what the results of that worst possible thing happening would be. You write that out in detail. And one of the things about that particular technique is that studies show, 1, you'll be less scared, but 2, the idea that comes next can often be the best idea that you've had up until that point, which I think is quite a powerful motivator. And technique 3, or drill number 3, is list on my loves, where you just list and list and list, and then when you're starting to think that you've come to the end, just keep going. Let's see what's Brenda said. Probably the last one, but maybe instead write down the techniques or stitches. Hate it. I've been wanting to go to not hate, or stitches I've been wanting to go and try, or avoiding. Yes. Exactly. So it's moving you away from your comfort zone so that you are looking at different things, different techniques, and you're not just always going with the same old. So you will come up with something that is new and specific to you, which is, I think all of them have their own benefits, but probably the 3rd one is going to be most useful for designers. The 2nd one is going to be very useful for people who have services to offer, or are launching an ebook or a pattern collection, or something that feels that little bit bigger than your standard patterns that you're releasing. So they are the three techniques or drills that I'm suggesting for today for you to have a think about, practice, and refer back to. And there are 2 other things that I wanted to mention. No, 3 other things I wanted to mention. Paula, the last one rings because it's waiting just over the horizon. Absolutely. Just over the horizon is where you want to get to. It's where you want to be. It's fabulous. So yes, there are 3 things that I wanted to talk about. We have coming up a what's it called? I can see what it looks like. We have a new mini course coming in April, which is going to be about what's it called? My brain has just left the building. Mosaic knitting. There you go. It came to me eventually. It's mosaic knitting. It's been written by Kirsty Ferland, and it's going to be fabulous. It's 4 weeks, and it will take you through what is mosaic knitting, how to choose your yarns, what is the best techniques to use, and it will walk you through the process to how to think about using mosaic knitting if you are a designer, so that you finish out not just learning how to use the technique with some swatches to actually knit up yourself as part of that mini course, but also at the end actually showing designers how to think about creating new projects with that mosaic knitting technique. It's a beautiful colour work technique, and if you've seen any of Christy's work, you'll know it's absolutely gorgeous. So that was item number 1, and I'll be sharing some information about that. That is available to members of Yarn Academy as part of your monthly membership. So that's a cool bonus, I think. Secondly, we have the mastermind courses, which are open for students to sign up if they wish to join. So that's having a group of people who are all working together to conquer whatever issues you have at the moment. So if you're not sure how to launch a project, you're not sure how to set up a contract with somebody for an element of what you're working on, If you don't know how to build your mailing list, if you don't know how to set something up from a technical perspective, I'm part of all of these groups, and it's a way of getting one-to-one or a few to one with me, and to help you build your business and grow that forward. So again, I'll be sharing a link in the groups, and if you are a member of the mailing list, then you'll get a couple of emails about it. The sign up will actually close on the 1st of April, because we start on the 2nd, so there is only a limited window to actually sign up for that, but that's cool. You can either sign up now or maybe again in the future. It just depends on what you're looking for. But it's about 15 quid a week, just to take part in that. And it's a 6-week course of 1 hour a week of looking at different aspects of your business and how best to prepare for the next phase of whatever it is that you are working on. So that is the second thing. And the third thing, which only arrived today in my inbox, is that the Knitting and Crochet Awards in the UK are now open for suggestions of people who may merit an award. So the nominations are open. What I'll be doing is sharing some links, and this is the first time I've ever asked for people to nominate me for something. But there's crochet designers, there are blog categories and online categories for people who help you, for people who inspire you, and for people whose patterns and content you enjoy. So if you think that I fall into any of those categories, I will be sharing some information in the Facebook group, and I'll put some information underneath this video. And if that is the case, that you think I have helped or I've been beneficial, then I really would appreciate it if you would nominate me for one of those categories. That would be absolutely awesome. So I shall sign off. I think there's been enough waffle from me. And Paula, yes, brainstorming with others really does help a lot. Paula was part of the test mastermind group, so she's got a lot of feedback. If anybody wants to chat to her one-to-one, I'm sure Paula can give you all sorts of feedback and let you know how it went. So that is where we are for this week, and I will see you next week. If you like this and you don't want to miss out, then please subscribe to the channel. It's absolutely free, and as I say, as soon as we hit 100 subscribers, then I can get us a YouTube channel name that actually makes sense, and I don't have to then go away and copy with a million random scrambled things in it. So I will see you next week, and obviously I'll see you throughout the week in the Facebook group. Bye for now.